Here we go. About to go live. All right. It's all happening.
It's all Alex, keep vamping.
Welcome to Comic Book Club Live with your hosts, Alex, Justin, and Pete. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Alex. How's it going?
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are sure figuring out some tech issues going on here. This is fun. This is
It's not
good.
easy being booth man, is it, Alex?
No, it really isn't. I'm very stressed out right now. Now, if you're listening to the podcast at home, just know that we are streaming this live to two places with video. We are going to Crowdcast. If you're on Crowdcast, you can drop Ask a Question. There's a little button below, and you can drop your question right in there. We'll be getting to your audience questions later in the show. If you're watching over on YouTube, hey, everybody on YouTube, you all are awesome as well. We are monitoring that window. We'll definitely get to your questions as well, so feel free to chat and comment over there. Got one eye on that thing, and I got one eye on you motherfuckers as well.
Oh,
I'm
one
coming
eye on
through.
the
wow.
Yeah.
What are you not watching? Okay.
I don't.
Hey, Salvin,
What-
is this the time we do the Patreon thank yous?
Oh, yeah, it is. Thanks, Pete, who has to get through the show and get on to whatever the next thing he's doing is. So this is, normally we tape this in advance, and normally this is a disaster. And we have to do through it several times. But because we are doing this live to two places, we figured we do our monthly Patreon thank yous and folks to support us at patreon.com/comic book club. It's, I believe, the $5 and above level. We read off everybody's names as a thank you. So we're going to do that.
And we usually pre-record this, but we always only ever do it once, and we don't ever make mistakes. So this is a perfect example, a perfect time to prove how good we are at saying names in order.
Hype this up too much.
Yes. Not only do we do it perfectly in rhythm, but we pronounce everybody's names absolutely correctly.
We're
Here we go.
We're linguists at the end of the day.
So here we go. Take a big sip of your White Claw, Pete, and let's get into it to thank all the folks who have supported us on Patreon despite everything that's going on this month. We really, really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Now, more than ever, Aaron C. Hollis,
Adam Marks,
Adriel Moreland,
Elena Fontana,
Amanda Harris,
Amy Gonzalez,
Andrew Tillman,
Benjamin Brown,
Brett Macris,
Chris Leatherman,
Clement Soluer,
Gorby Dorby Doodle,
Curtis LaRock,
Dan Snow,
Daniel Warden,
Danny Heck,
Danny Ollie,
Dennis Scott,
Dustin Rimmy,
Eduardo Martinez,
Aaron Dorian,
Jeffrey Reicher,
Gerard De Villiers,
James Connolly,
Jason Williams,
Jessica Ashcraft,
Joe Crack,
John George,
Jonathan Jong,
Joseph Kelly,
Joshua W. Broxson,
Catherine Anderson,
Karen Comstock,
Kevin Grimes,
Kevin Kleinrock,
Kieran Broderick,
Lee Brown,
Liwana Thomas,
who's right behind you right now. She's right behind you right
she's
now.
going
Pete.
to murder you. She's going to
turn
murder
around.
you.
She's right behind you.
Lucas Sink,
Mark Carrillo,
Mark Kiefer,
Mark Zeller,
Megan Thigpen,
Michael Sturgeon,
Mike Dargenio,
Mitchell McDonald,
Nick Grayson,
Omnia Soul Art.
Perry Taliaferro,
Pip P 2020,
We need him more than ever. Primetime Paulie G,
Rahadwin Sashwardio,
Sarah Schaefer,
Tamela Rush,
Matthew Wood, Tiago Nascimento,
Iago Nascimento,
Victor Perez,
W. Blade,
Wally D. Librarian,
Will Buchanan.
and Zika's Viral Comics. Again, thank you all so much for supporting us on patreon.com. You all are awesome and amazing. Pete, I appreciate you taking a brief moment there to read the name in your head before reading it out loud.
What a showman. You really know how to dovetail those names. Speak trippingly from the tongue, as we learned in the classically trained acting classes that I've been conducting for the three of us in our time of quarantine, which clearly aren't working here in our time. Pete, that White Claw is going to make your beard white. Oh, too late.
Also, I want to mention Daniel Oliveris over on YouTube says, "Oh yeah, time to butcher some names." So, thanks, Daniel. That's amazing. And thank all of you for sitting through that. Now it is time, and I'm going to figure out if I can do this. Hold on. Here we go. Hold on. We actually have a guest on the show tonight. A lot of folks have comics that are still coming out that they're still working on, even with the comic shutdown that's going on right now. So here we go. We are going to invite up into the feed Cody Fernandez from IronVerse Comics. We're to chat about his books. Here we go. Also, I'm going to play a sound cue. Wait, no, I'm not. I don't have a sound cue for that. Never mind.
This is very ambitious, Alex. You're doing too many things.
Well, welcome to my little everyday life. But there we go. He should be up here in a second. We hope, if everything is nice and smooth. Too many things.
All right.
Here we go. Hello. Hey,
Hello,
Cody.
hello. All right.
Hey, how's it going, Cody?
Going pretty well. Yourselves?
All right, pretty good.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for jumping in for the show. We really appreciate it. First of all, how are you doing? Where are you calling in from right now?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm calling in from northern New Mexico, actually.
Ooh,
Nice.
Easy to keep social distancing, nice and spread out by nature. So we're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Gotta watch out for that cactus distancing.
That's so true. So true.
So you have a book called Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy, that is produced by IronVerse Comics. Yeah. You've had 2 issues come out so far. The 3rd issue is currently being crowdfunded on Indiegogo, and I think with 10 days to go, you're about halfway there at this point. I'll just ask you straight up, has what is going on in the world, do you feel like that has impacted your crowdfunding campaign at all at this time? Has it changed your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. People's priorities had to shift quite greatly, but in all honesty, I'm unsure how much timing's going to be timing. We broke 50% today, which is great. We've got, like you said, about 10 days left. There's a dang good chance that we can fund, and really, I'm just I'm excited to keep trying whatever works and whatever's going to happen, but priorities for some people had to shift. Not for us, really. Got an artist in Argentina I want to get paid. I've got a colorist in California. People need the extra little bit of work, and I'm happy to provide it if able through our collective journey, Jack Irons Steel Cowboy.
Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear. It's been, I don't know how it's necessarily been working for the big companies, but certainly for small companies, it's like, it feels like you're kind of taking it week by week at this point and sort of waiting it out and being like, okay, maybe we'll be able to move forward and sell things at some point. But for you, the first 2 were released digitally as well, right? The first 2 issues?
Well, they did digital and physical. With the last campaign, we had funded for, I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks, and had gotten close to funding, and then I got picked up by a publisher called Wicked Publishing, and they helped me provide and work out physical issues and get that all done, and we ended up running probably the most unorthodox and successful comic crowdfunding in 2018. Very unorthodox. We hit 9,300, I believe, last campaign. Got the books colored, got them both shipped out, and people have enjoyed them quite a bit. It's a weird space western, if folks aren't familiar. We have, as he said, the two issues are actually available digitally, publicly right now at my publisher's website, Wicked Publishing. So just look up Wicked Publishing and you can find their web store, and you can pick up both issues for $1 each right now. If you guys are interested at all in immortality meets reincarnation during the galactic end times is the quickest elevator pitch I got for it.
Nice.
It's a lot more than that, and it's an absolutely gorgeous book, and I hope folks will take time and give it a look and consider supporting issue 3 so we can keep it going.
That's awesome. Remember elevators? They're just called basement pitches now, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm behind. I'm behind the times there.
Well, let's talk about the book. It is, like you said, an absolutely gorgeous looking book. It's a really, really nice package with some wild storytelling, focusing essentially on this guy, Jack Irons. He's sort of, like you said, is a space cowboy that's been through multiple lifetimes. But where did the germ of the idea start for this?
It was me as a young adult. I wrote most of Jack, the first 5, and I would say 10 issues, but those last 5 have been kind of lost. They're not that great. But a while back, about a decade ago, and so it was kind of during my transition from childhood to adulthood, trying to carry forward what I started experiencing going closer to adulthood and combining it with what I enjoyed and loved and understood in childhood. So there's, spaghetti Western flavor there. There's quite a bit of different anime flavors. There's Mad Max obviously is a huge influence in the books. Even the first issue has a very blatant RoboCop reference. It's really was just me trying to express what I really enjoyed my own way and bring forward what I liked in a different direction.
I wasn't laughing at you, by the way. Pete just had a visceral reaction to the word RoboCop, which was very funny. Yeah,
because you love RoboCop, or you hate? He's like an enemy of yours. Because you don't like robots or cops.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's a classic film. You hope somebody's not out there bashing RoboCop. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I enjoy the heck out of it. In the first issue, again, we had an homage.
Well, very cool. Good luck with it. It's still running again for the next 10 days, at least when we're taping this. Where can people check out the Indiegogo? What should they search for in particular?
Hopefully they can just look up Jack Irons issue 1 through 3 on Indiegogo. We actually have an exclusive variant cover that's being done by our artist Maximiliano Dallo and being colored by Frank Martin Jr. If anybody's aware of his work with Marvel, and East of West also for Image. He gave his nod of approval, which was great, and decided to work with us on that. So that was quite crazy. Only going to be available during this campaign. And again, Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy, Indiegogo. You'll probably find either the number 3 campaign or the other campaign, and you'll still be able to find the number 3 campaign if you folks are interested.
Yeah, well, we definitely recommend it. Book looks great, at least for the first 2 issues. Very excited about the third one. I do hope people check it out. Hey, and if you're over on Crowdcast, we got a little link there going on. Cody, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
and good
thanks,
luck with the
Cody.
project.
Yes, thank you guys so very much. Take care.
All right.
You too.
All right. There we go. Now,
Nice.
folks, now that we've done our little interview there, it is time for our next section. Oh, lots of stuff going on here.
Alex, I feel like you need to spread some of this. It's very funny. You're like working so hard, and Pete and I are just like sipping our beers and
yeah, just sipping your White Claws and stuff. Here, let's see if this works. This event is already mapped out. Remove a seat if you want to add one. What? Hold on.
Wait, you gotta wait a minute for the audio to.
Yeah.
What?
I just thought because we had somebody on, do you have to give it a second for that person to clear out, then invite somebody else?
Yeah, maybe. Oh man, it's
maybe
not working.
maybe our guest just isn't really ready. He doesn't have his hand up. He doesn't isn't available to come and do the show right now.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll still have to figure out this tech stuff. Thank you all for listening. Our guest here, by the way, is Nat Towsen, who clearly is not able to come on because he's scared of getting punched in the stomach. I think that's what's going on here. This is totally not his fault. This is clearly a tech issue that we're having. But in the meantime, while we figure this out, let's move on with our next section, which we like to call the stack.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And on the stack, we talk about a couple of books that we like a lot because no books have come out this week. And if we are able to bring that in, I certainly hope we are, because what, Pete? What are you nodding your head?
Shaking my head at Justin and his bullshit in the comments, you know.
Oh yeah, I see.
What? Just because I'm the tallest and the youngest?
Yeah.
See, at this point, you guys are as you're aging, you're shrinking. Your bones are getting.
That happens to everyone,
together.
you fucking asshole.
But I'm still youth. I still have a youthfulness to me. I'm still growing. In ways.
Nice. I think I might have to kick out one of you guys to invite Nat up. Which one of you wants to
Not
go?
it.
Seems risky. Seems like a mistake. I mean,
All right,
which one of us has threatened to fight the person you're inviting in? Because that would seem to be a smart person to kick out.
Yeah,
Right,
which one of you is the most dispensable is what I really
As a former bartender, I know that you don't bring in the people fighting. You kick them out.
Oh, man. Well, I'm not quite sure what to do here. Sorry, Nat. We will work this out for next week. In the meantime, what?
Wait, kick me out.
Kick you out of the show? Yeah. What if we can't bring you back, Pete?
I have IronVerse Comics still in the room, and that's why you can't invite Nat.
Oh, all right.
In a tiny box in the corner.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, IronVerse, Cody, if you don't mind removing yourself, that'd be great. This is probably real fun for everybody listening on the podcast version.
You can't kick him out?
I thought I already did. I already removed him.
You're the bouncer. You've always been the bouncer. You're the heavy. You're the guy that comes up and wrestles shit. So I think it's time for you to really step
up here.
Oh yeah, I see him in the corner.
Really?
He's hiding in the corner. It's like Blair Witch.
He wasn't there the whole time, and now all of a sudden I see him.
Oh, that's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. Why don't you guys talk for a second while I look at this? Find out what's going on with each other. Bond as friends.
Oh boy, Pete, you're in Philadelphia. What's your everyone inquiring minds want to know what's your calzone consumption like right now?
Oh man, it's high. It's high. But I'm getting down to this cheesesteak debate. I've had a bunch of local cheesesteaks, and then I'm going to put up against Pat's and Geno's. And, that's kind of what I've been doing with my free time, is just trying to get the best cheesesteak. How about you, buddy?
What have I been eating? I've been cooking.
Yeah, what you been eating?
I've been cooking a lot. I'm real home cooking. Well, you haven't been cooking at all? You've only been meat and cheese things?
No, I also, I don't know if cook's the right word, but I do a lot of the frozen dinners.
Really?
Put some White Castle sliders in the old microwave. Good to go.
Oh, my God. Your insides must be black, just like tar. Gross.
What do you eat there,
little bit of an update here. I can't remove our guest from the chat. I'm sorry about that. So I think we do need to move on and talk about these comics, whether Nat is here or not. So sorry, Nat.
We can't. He picked these special. We should what do you want to talk about, Pete? Yeah, that's exactly right. And I guess refreshing your screen would just stop the whole thing.
Let's just have Nat on next week.
Yes, Nat, we will have you on next week. We apologize profusely for this.
If only there was another section of the show where we would pick someone to answer some sort of, series of questions. Maybe there's a chance you could select him for that.
Yes, except we still can't bring anybody up. Is the problem.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
This again is going to work real well on the audio podcast. I'm very excited about this. All right. What should we talk about this? Should we talk about these books on the stack?
It's time for the stack.
Yeah. So this is actually Nat's pick. He has been reading a bunch of X-Men comics, and in specific, we're going to talk about New X-Men number 114, number 115, and number 116, which are all the beginning of Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's run on the book. It is Nat is razzing us in the comments over here on Crowdcast. It's the E for Extinction storyline, which really redefined X-Men comic books the last time. Very different from how it redefined it this time when Jonathan Hickman is taken over. or is it different? That's what I throw out to you for the beginning of the discussion.
Is it different than Hickman's?
Yeah, I mean, well, how do you feel like this was something that completely redefined how people thought about X-Men? It changed the costumes, changed the looks, added secondary mutations, added new villains. It really was a huge revamping for the X-Men line, same as what Jonathan Hickman did at the same time. So I do think there's that connection there. But what was your general take reading this again, Justin and Pete?
I love this. It was such a great thing to reread since we have all this time to read, because it is such a fresh take. And even now, in a world where the version that Hickman's doing now feels like Grant Morrison esque, where it's like super big, a lot of weird ideas. While rereading this Grant Morrison run, it feels pretty contained and just really like cracking dialogue, just adding all these extra mutants that look different. There's like body dysmorphia, so many like different shapes of bodies and different types of people on the X-Men now, when it wasn't the case for so long. That's very cool. Just the rebranding, the Frank Quitely art is like a revelation. It's so good. And the way they just branded it, it's so like cinematic. It was such a leap forward with the X-Men.
Yeah, it's very confident in its art, where you've got still panels that are very, very powerful. It has like a very interesting pace to it, which is cool. It was nice to go back to this and to kind of reread it again. And it's funny that Grant Morrison he's not as crazy as Hickman is with the X-Men stuff. It's easy to kind of follow, and I thought like, oh man, this is going to be crazy, but I was impressed with how easy it was to kind of understand. I just think that like it's cool because they got more, the outfits are better. They don't feel like embarrassed. They actually sat there and took panels talking about it, and it didn't drive me nuts, which was kind of cool. And I think it kind of reiterated what a douche Cyclops is, and why
I actually disagree. I thought Cyclops was very cool. He was like,
you always say that, you fuck.
No, but this is like point. He was here. I feel like he was, especially in this run.
Who is it? Who's there? Hey, it's Nat. There we go. Hi, Nat. How are you doing?
In your podcast.
Wow.
Oh, that's great. That was the real punch of the gut right there, a digital one that was going on.
Alex wiping the sweat off his brow.
Dude, Jesus Christ. This is very stressful. Oh, wait, now he's muted. What are you doing, Nat? Oh, my God.
Weird, we can't hear him.
It's good.
Now you talk.
See him. It's enough to see him.
Yeah, there you go.
It's nice to see him. Let me just finish my point real quick. I just think that Cyclops is a complete douche. Wolverine's the hero. And, it kind of talks about why Jean Grey and Cyclops don't work out, which I really appreciated. And why he belongs with somebody like the White Queen. I think it's I think that they belong together. And Jean Grey
I agree that this is the setting up. Added White Queen being brought into the X-Men in this first 3 is so good, so cool. What do you think about Wolverine being like sort of short and like ugly?
That's who we're supposed to be. You fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Do you feel good about it then?
Well, but he's great mean. Like he's specifically very mean in this one, I think. Yeah, he is. He's making how's
it like it is?
I've been a little distracted with this Nat drama going on here, but have you talked about the plot for Extinction yet?
No, we don't do that. We just shout opinion.
Okay.
We can talk about the plot. So what it is the roster's changed up a little bit. We've got Beast, Jean Grey, Wolverine, and Cyclops are sort of our core X-Men. And we add there it is. Add White Queen.
I agree that they are.
Oh, there we go. Now you're back.
Nat loves this.
Do you know what? Stuff. I just want to say I love this way that we're doing shows now. I think it's going very smoothly and very well.
Wow. Yeah, Alex being sort of very Donald Trumpy.
All of the media will.
It's very great.
Very well after this moment.
This is going really well. Everybody knows that. because it's going so smoothly.
Yes. As Juan points out on YouTube, Alex is so stressed out. Juan, that's correct. But I'm doing better now. We're good. We're all good. Do you know why? Because this is a section we like to call the stack.
The stack!
Wow. Real rewriting of history
over?
Here. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my God, what is that?
Nat, thank you for coming on. Thank you for picking E for Extinction. As Justin was mentioning, there you go. You got the trade.
That's right.
While we've been blathering on, why did you pick this? What was your take on this? Why did you and what was your take on it reading this again?
Also, I'm glad you picked Nat like a 3-issue arc. It was fun.
The amount of time I was given to answer that question, but please, Pete, continue.
Yeah,
I was just trying to compliment you before you talk. That's all.
Okay, no, sorry. What?
No, fuck you, Nat.
No, God, you guys.
Pete, I feel like there's a delay. I feel like there's a delay right now, and then go ahead.
No, there's no delay. This is how fast we talk, and we don't let people have time to answer.
Okay.
Go for it.
Our problem is lack of delay.
And also, Pete, I don't know where you're located on this little square thing, but if you want to punch down at any point.
Pete's always punching down.
For me, he's that way. Again, great audio. I picked this because I, much like Pete, I'm loving the new Hickman X-Men direction, and I love Islands, which this
God.
also features. So Pete and I have that in common. And I thought it would be interesting to take a look back at what felt like the last, I know that there's always this conversation or almost buzz phrase in comics journalism that's like, we're taking something in a new direction or a bold new direction. But this to me feels like the last time it actually was a new and interesting idea or a new and interesting take on the X-Men. This felt like the last more like revolutionary shift that they've done. And then maybe before that, like the beginning of the Jim Lee era, and then like the beginning of the Claremont era, I guess, if you were to look. Yeah. I see those as the biggest reboots. But also specifically because I think that you can tell pretty clearly that Hickman is a fan of the Morrison run, because there's a lot of that showing up in his run. So I kind of wanted to see how they would contrast.
It's funny reading this now. Sorry, Pete. I was just going to say it's funny reading this now on the Hickman thing. We've talked a lot about how cold the X-Men are in the Hickman run. It varies, I think, from title to title, but for a lot of it, it does feel like these chess pieces that are being moved around in a super smart way, but it's missing a little bit of that characterization. It's crazy to me to read Grant Morrison's X-Men and be like, oh, these are the X-Men. Like Grant Morrison, you would think would be the one that would write a book where it'd be these insane hyperbolic terms happening with the X-Men. But if anything, this feels very accessible.
Yeah, and I think he does a pretty good job with like the characterizations that are sort of crystallized in the middle of the Claremont run. That's actually what Chris is short for, crystallized Claremont. And not a lot of fans know that, but real X-Men fans do.
Big reveal.
Yeah. But sorry, I actually threw myself off my train of thought with that great joke. But
the thing about Grant,
very acceptable in that, like, it feels more like the characters we know, and also compared to the current run. One thing I think Justin pointed this out in a previous episode that's interesting is we haven't seen inside anyone's head in the current Hickman X-Men. There's no internal monologues. There's no, even in sort of psychic projection, there was that one Jean Grey, Emma Frost special, the one that had no words in it, and we kind of saw the psychic world there. But I feel like the Morrison run takes place like half in people's heads, in whether it's like in Cerebro or in Professor X's head, and like there's a lot more getting behind what each character is actually doing and thinking, even if it's not like voice bubble or thought bubbles.
So I wanted to kind of go back to what you originally said. You brought up an interesting point where you said you kind of hate when people use platitudes to be like, this will change comics forever and stuff like that, which is interesting to hear you say that. I feel like
I'm walking into but yes, I remember saying that.
Yeah, because that's why I've threatened to punch you, because you used the platitude that was fucking ridiculous.
Well, Pete, I gotta say, last time I was on the show, I said, next time, we gotta let the audience decide, and you can punch me. And I promised it would be the next time I'm on the show, and I know I'm on the show now, but unfortunately there is a stay-at-home order, and
I also want to mention something.
You have to get within 6 feet of me, and I just can't let that happen for Alex's sake.
The world has changed. The world is very different.
What I was going to say is, Nat, this all started because you said that Botnick would release an album, and within a year, the world would change. And I'll tell you what, the world is totally fucking different now, man.
You did it.
So you did it. Congratulations.
All right. Pete, you're getting
this
punched.
Is you. I'm definitely punching you in the face next time I can see you in public, man.
All right. I mean, I said I agreed to it. It's out of my hand. I'm so sorry. Like, if it were up to me, you'd be allowed to punch me, Pete. But like, again, it's like I said it would be the.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm glad to hear you say it. Next time I'm allowed to.
There's nothing I can do about this. Just like last time, there was nothing I could do about it. This time there's also nothing I can do about it. So it's out of my hands, you know?
Just a quick comment over on YouTube. NGAF Spidey616 says, Grant Morrison's X-Men is still my fave take on X-Men. I kind of wish they left Jean Grey dead, because that was a great finale for Jean. Spoilers for that from years ago. It is kind of amazing. The other thing that I was really struck by reading E for Extinction is how much stuff he shockingly subtly sets up in this first volume, in these first 3 issues.
Name them. Go.
What?
No, I'm just interested in what he's setting up.
Well, things like the Zorn thing, right? We know now the Zorn reveal, which is amazing. Like, I think one of the best reveals in the history of comics, where it turns out Zorn is actually Magneto. Watching Magneto die in Genosha.
Sorry, if you haven't read the run, that's like,
sorry, it's fine. I think we can spoil this. But watching Magneto die at the beginning of that, knowing what's coming, you're like, that's already in play. All of the stuff with Jean and Emma and Scott is already at play. Cassandra Nova's in play, the secondary mutations, all of these different things that he's seeding and setting up there are just so simply created in these first 3 issues, while not at all, and I think a lot of this is on Frank Quitely, and I'm leaning into the Frank Quitely of it all, but not skimping on action, which is still insanely over the top. And the fact that there's so much story when you also have so many double page single panel spreads that are going on. Like, it feels like a full meal, even though it's a regular sized comic with actually probably less dialogue happening in it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the paneling is just phenomenal. My favorite is that giant robotic fist coming through the window. Like, that is unbelievable.
I feel like this is when Grant Morrison was at his sort of peak here, where it was like super interesting and great, but not in the sort of, it's a ship made of music style Grant Morrison that he got into pretty quickly after that, after this run. And it's just great to reread this and see it. Plus, it's just very cool. The X-Men are very cool in this. They look cool. They act cool. Everyone's very cool.
Yeah. I'll tell you who's not cool.
That's the most important part.
I'll tell you who's not cool is Cyclops, where, you know, Wolverine's dying and he's really kind of talking it out with Jean Grey. It doesn't seem like that's the time.
Wolverine dying is a joke. It's got to be a joke to the X-Men, because Wolverine never dies.
What do you think about, here's something that struck me in a weird way, and they even talk about it in the book, but Professor X has a gun, right? Like, he's in Cerebra, he has a gun. Cassandra Nova gets into his head, and he puts the gun to his head, and he's like, I swear to God, I'll pull this trigger, I'll take myself out, which I think is a great moment. But then he plugs her with bullets by the end of the volume, and they're like, well, it had to be done. No way out of that one.
Not to use on another person.
Yeah. Which is kind of over the top. Like, do you think he was trying to draw the line under these X-Men, the X-Men I'm writing are not superheroes? Is that what he was going for there?
I kind of think it also tells the seriousness of the threat, and that, like, this is something that's it's not just high on the power scale. It's something that's a exponentially tier higher of a type of threat than what they've typically faced. So, like, I think it's sort of at least a narrative way of you establish that like this is a last resort to kill myself kind of thing, and then something pushes him over the edge. Like the Cassandra Nova is a threat to him in a way that nothing else is like quite that personal or has that much of an effect on Professor X.
I think it's also,
and I just think it's a different. These aren't the X-Men that we've seen for years. These are different people. There's more of an edge to them. They all have a little bit more of an attitude. Like even Beast, who sort of is the underplayed one here. This is the same Beast that even Bendis was writing in all of his comics that came after this. So I feel like it set up a lot and really charted the path.
Oh, for sure,
X-Men
yeah.
From this.
Also, this
Professor
Xavier
was just doing a nice nod to the Punisher. I think he was just like, sometimes
that's probably
huge Punisher fan.
What were you going to say, Nat? Great.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's that.
I feel really bad for cutting him off because now he's frozen.
That's all right. He looks.
No, that's a great.
It's a good look for him.
That's great. He's thinking. It's a great point.
You know what? And that was the last we ever saw that. But we'll always remember. Too dark? Too dark.
Yes, too dark. Too soon.
Yes, it is definitely too dark. But definitely, Nat, thank you for coming on. I don't know exactly what's happened.
Thank you so much, Nat. We really enjoyed having you here a little bit. And it was great having you be late. I don't know what happened with you, but you showed up late and then you left without saying goodbye. And you just left a beautiful corpse. Really.
All right. We'll have to have Nat back again when we've figured out all this tech stuff. But great.
So we got to screenshot this. This is a perfect. This is like his. That's his
also,
new
I
headshot.
can't get rid of him. Wait, there we go. There he is.
That's a true.
Get the
there
fuck
we go.
out of here, Nat. Nobody wants you.
Oh my God! Don't.
Wow. Thanks for coming by, Nat. Always a pleasure to see you.
Nat.
And I'm so sorry you got punched in the gut today. And that's just the way it goes sometimes.
All right. It is now time for my favorite section because you guys make it up. It's your audience questions.
Yeah.
And for your audience questions, if you're on Crowdcast, you can drop one and ask a question, and we'll get through those. If you're watching over on YouTube, drop your questions in the chat and let us know, and we would love to hear from you. Also, if you're on YouTube, give us a like. Give us one of those thumbs up. We love those things. They're great.
That's nice.
Yeah. All right, here we go. We got some questions going on here. First one, I think you probably know where this is going, but this one's from Kevin here. As we move through this uncertain time, the star's my destination and maybe yours. What bits of comic book merch have you been using while quarantined?
Nice.
So we're probably going to have to hold on to this question because, as frequent listeners of the show know, Kevin has unlocked the Starman quiz.
The Starman quiz, Kevin, once again, throwing it out there. He's had 2 cracks at it. Kevin, here, let's invite him in. There he is.
Oh, there he is. Hey,
just wanted to show you. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice.
I am wearing the
we should explain the Gwenpool apron made by great friend of the show, Brett Macris.
AKA Stray Bullet.
For a second before you stood up, Kevin, I thought maybe that was a Pope outfit for some reason, just based on the shiny class. But
for a second, I thought, Kevin, you were coming to us from heaven because you look like an angel.
Yeah. So Kevin's unlocked the Starman quiz. For those of you who haven't watched before, we have a bunch of secret quizzes we love running on the show. The current one is the Starman quiz. Kevin has tried to tackle it the last 2 shows. This is his 3rd attempt, 3rd strike, and you're out, right, Justin?
That is not the rule.
Oh, okay. You take it from here then. Go for it.
Great. So this quiz is about Starman, the character written by James Robinson, drawn by many, many artists over the course of the 81 issue run. 81, 82. It's a little fuzzy. Great. Thank you, Pete. Keep it quiet. This is my time. I'm the star of this section. And you can go suck an egg.
It just seems like you're dragging this on more than it needs
just
to be.
Explaining what it is. That's how you host a segment. So, like all great quizzes, you can get a second guess if you slag off either the Punisher or Cypher to Pete and Alex, making hard eye contact with them and insulting their favorite characters. Question number 1. Jack Knight Starman debuted during this DC event.
0 hour.
There are. Great. Nailed it. Question number 2. Where would you find the gateway to heaven? Ironic in that you are speaking to us from heaven.
A Hawaiian shirt.
Excellent. That is correct. That is the second question. We are in brand new territory.
Oh, yeah.
Question number 3. There's a hard-punching, Frank Sinatra-loving bank robber turned hero who helps Jack Knight save Opal City. What is his name?
Oh, shoot. I was just reading this.
Yes. I'm glad you've been doing some research on
and
the
suddenly,
backside.
like, half the character names have just gone out of my head.
That's it.
It's all right.
Totally
Evan,
understand.
use the turtleneck. Use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to say that I have never known a relatable character in fiction named Doug. I just haven't.
Jesus.
Never
Wow.
been a relatable.
You can't relate to Doug. It's a true fact.
there.
It's a true fact.
Coming
Doug
up
on
2 weeks in a
Nickelodeon.
row.
Great. That counts as a knock because look, it made Alex angry. Look how sad he is now.
Yeah.
So your clue is the first name is the same name as Mr. Burns' bear in The Simpsons. His favorite toy bear. This is a name that really bothered him when people would say it.
Seems like Pete knows. Pete, you
Bobo.
should have
The bear was Bobo.
Bobo. That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. Bobo Benetti. A great character from the latter half of the Starman run. Question number 4. And I feel like maybe these we're really rolling here. Maybe these are too hard, but maybe not. At the
How many
end
questions are there?
There could be an infinite amount. I have a lot of questions, but then I was like, some of these are too hard, so I may just choose to be over eventually. At the end of the initial Starman run, how many tattoos does Jack have? This is a little tricky. Pete offering a hint.
Do you actually know, Pete, or you're just putting up figures?
Just put my lucky number out there.
Oh, your lucky number is 3?
Well, yes, and also 12. 12.
Wow, that's crazy.
Let's see. Now, can I only use one insult a week, or is it one insult per question?
You can throw out, you can insult as much as you want. That's what life is.
Okay.
Yeah, please insult Pete's counting ability.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, the Punisher couldn't even beat Archie.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
That's
just
100% true.
That's just fucking garbage.
Great. Your clue is halfway through the Stars My Destination run, Jack Knight's body was obliterated, and he had to be cloned back to life. All of his tattoos were gone because he had brand new skin.
And if it helps, I have the complete collection of Starman behind me over here in the bookcase. So just look at it real hard and you'll get some of the answers.
Feel it.
Well, I'm going to say then maybe he just didn't have any at all at the end. 0.
That is incorrect. That is correct. I know I pointed at that pretty hard, but that is incorrect.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Amazing job.
Great to see you, man. The apron looks great.
All right.
Looking
we'll
good.
have you on next week. Oh, man. That was good.
Justin, is 3 or 12 correct?
Neither one of those numbers are correct.
Oh.
And to be fair, Pete, because of the way cameras work, it looked like 21, not 12.
Yeah, I saw that in the comments.
Right.
So easy.
Just
now,
to get to Kevin's question, though, what bits of comic book merch have you been using while quarantined? Are there any comic book merch you've been using?
I've been wearing my The Thing t-shirt a lot. I feel like because of the quarantine, I've been on a very tight t-shirt rotation because we're doing laundry much more often. And so I keep wearing the same ones. The Thing, my Pip Don't Slip t-shirt.
Pip Don't Slip.
Josh Ritter t-shirt. So yeah, definitely the Thing tee.
Yeah. I, on a similar event, initially for work, we have a morning meeting at 9:30. Everybody gets on the old Google Hangouts and chats. And I used to be like, okay, I'll put on, my sweater, I'll put on my work outfit or anything. But like halfway through last week, I was like, I don't even care. So I've been wearing I got the Flash t-shirt.
Nice.
Flash t-shirt on right now. Got a bunch of other comic book t-shirts, and I've decided, you know what? Really doesn't matter at this point. Pete, what about you?
Yeah. I mean, just staying in, rocking tees. I wish I could be using, I've got other things that could be used, but since it's mainly inside, it's pajamas and tees for me, man.
What are you talking about? Are you wearing your Punisher slippers?
I'm unfortunately in a separate location than my Punisher slippers.
Oh my God. So. Where is the Punisher shrine, Pete? Is it still back in New York?
Yep.
It's unguarded.
Oh my God.
it's guarded.
Yeah. It's weird. I was looking at the New York Times. They have that map of hotspots for the coronavirus, and it just whittles down to these Punisher slippers.
I want to say that Punisher slippers are patient zero, or the slipper zero of this whole infection.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying.
Don't you try to pin this shit on me, man.
Another comic book thing I recently I bought is the My Best Friends Have All Been Junkies, the Ed Brubaker standalone graphic novel, part of the Criminal series. Just read it today. Very good.
Nice. A couple of things to mention from over here on YouTube. First of all, Aris910 says, and this is for Pete, you're going to be very excited about this. My uncle owns Ishkabibble's cheesesteaks on South Street. Tell him you know Jason Williams. It's free, Pete.
Wait. Free?
Wow, you just signed a death sentence on this man.
Yeah. What do you mean by?
Wow, this is Pete's last show. That's great.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but
I just mentioned his name and it's free.
That's what he says. He says it's a few stores down from Condom Kingdom, which is also a great store. So there you go. You can get two things at the same time.
Look, Pete's leaving right now to go get one.
Hang on, I got to write this down here.
Ishkabibbles is a famous. I've been to that.
Yeah, there you go.
Mr. and Mrs. LePage, I'm so sorry that your son died of a cheese blockage. He is a horrifying.
Ishkabibbles?
Yes.
Ishkabibbles cheesesteaks on South Street. Anyway, yeah. Also, Juan Espinosa says we be doing.
Wait.
What?
What was his name? Jason what?
Williams.
Nice.
Yeah. So stupid.
Oh my God. This is great.
Right,
definitely go outside to walk all over the place, get some cheesesteaks. This is the time for it. Juan Espinosa says we'll be doing indie reviews on the stack now that there is no new comics coming out. Maybe, but we are concentrating on a throwback stack is what we're aiming to do. Yeah. So
we call it an old pile. Is what we call
it. Tomorrow's episode is actually going to be on Squadron Supreme from the 80s. That was heavily requested by our guest, Hurricane Helms, from a couple of weeks back. So we read through all 12 issues of that, and we're going to talk about that on the Stack episode, which I'll say without spoiling anything about that, it's actually been fun reading this old stuff and revisiting it. It's been very enjoyable.
Reading
address, Pete, just an update. It's at 337 South Street.
Don't make this too easy for him. You're really you can drag a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. This is the exact opposite of that.
Oh man, this is going to be fun.
We got a question here from First Hand Up Guy. He says, what the hell just happened? Great question from Nat Towsen, our guest who got kicked out of the chat. Sorry, Nat. We will have you on next week.
Honestly, that's better treatment than most guests get on this. So you should feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. Here's another one. Ooh, this is from Pete's Punisher slippers. They're like, why did you leave me at the center of this virus, Pete? No, they're not.
Wow.
They say, which superheroes do you think are essential and which are better off sheltering in place?
Ooh.
Oh, great question.
Interesting. Essential is such an interesting, what does that even mean?
I mean, I guess
in relation to comics.
It depends on their day job, either if any of them are delivering food or, working in hospitals or anything like that, then they're essential. But otherwise, if they're just a superhero, stay at home.
Well, I mean, I could definitely see Wolverine going around just giving everybody coronavirus, but just leaving at the bar and be like, whatever doesn't affect me, bub.
No, dude, I'm sure people are staying 6 feet away from Wolverine. I think it's fine.
I mean, on a regular basis, sure.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, in a superhero world, like in the Marvel universe and the DC universe, what would they be doing? I feel like I've seen this question actually on Twitter quite a bit, but the first thought that I had was that Dr. Doom crying after 9/11 thing. That was just like, oh, this is a bad fit.
Yeah.
But I don't even know. I don't know how to approach that question. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, really, I think all the scientists, your Mr. Fantastics, all of those folks would be maybe trying to crack the vaccine, beat the virus, and I think everyone else should be sheltering in place. I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also there should be the people like Flash and Superman who can move real fast and shit should be making masks and trying to build things for people.
Quickly making masks, speedy
Here's
delivery.
A question about he doesn't specifically ask about villains, but Pete's Punisher Slipper says, what would Lex Luthor do? And I think that's I feel like Lex would be isolated in a lab working on a cure and somehow blaming Superman at the same time.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I think one hero who would definitely be sidelined would be NFL Super Pro. He'd have to really not be going out.
Yeah. Cool. We got another one here from Ben the Border Collie. The apocalypse doesn't seem to be what we were promised. Well, a lot of things on a theme this week. Apocalypse doesn't seem to be what we were promised. Which fictional depiction seems closest to the reality?
Interesting. I was thinking about this today because of DMZ, which is sort of being made for TV. It seems like gone into pilot. I think they actually shot the pilot right. They finished it right before the quarantine started. So curious to see that. But that's a book I would like to go reread during this because it felt like it was normal people having to be in this situation where their environment was completely different from what it was days before.
Yeah. Pete, do you have any answers to that one?
I mean, I don't, but I just want to say that I too am disappointed. There's not enough fighting in the streets. I really, I mean, come on, man. Let's get this apocalypse going. You know what I mean? Let's light some fucking.
Let's not. It honestly does feel like everybody is on the brink of something, and I would rather not go there, to be perfectly honest about it.
Okay, fine.
But also Age of Apocalypse, because we all have very cool costumes, and I'm working in a gene bank, so. That's my answer.
Nice. I did bump into Sugar Man on the street the other day.
Oh, you did? My favorite comic book character.
Yeah. You and everybody else.
Pablo D. Martinez. I'm not for predictions, but when do you believe comic book stores will reopen their doors? Oh, gosh.
Tough question. I mean, I think it all... The real answer is nobody knows. Once there's mass testing and everyone feels comfortable going out and buying things, I think that's when stores will start to open. I do think comic book stores will be among the first flank of stores that open because there's not, you don't spend a lot. It's not like a movie theater, which I think will take a little bit more time to open back up. So I bet I'm sort of feeling like 4th of July-ish is when we're going to get. I feel like people like to pick a holiday, pick a day everybody knows to be like, that's when it's going to be time. And that feels like about right. Or maybe Memorial Day if things go super well.
Yeah. Pete, do you have any take on this?
I was being more positive in my thinking. I was hoping for May 12th, but we'll see. Hopefully Justin's not right. Hopefully I'm a little bit more correct, but either way, this shit blows, man.
Yeah, it does. I mean, like you said, there's no way of accurately predicting this because we just don't know at this point. Here in New York, I think we're at least another month at this point between things have not again, we're not scientists, but things have not reached their peak. That's going to be at least another 2 weeks. And then if we reach the peak, there's probably going to be at least another week or two of that. And then things are going to have to subside. So it's at least a month, if not longer here in New York. And there are states that haven't been shut down yet. There are places that haven't shut down. So it's going to be a very long time. The one thing that I do think, for better or for worse, is probably going to happen is I cannot imagine this current stalemate that's happening between comic book shops and the major comic book companies can last. And we talked about this a little bit the last week, but I just don't see a world where a month down the line, Marvel, who is owned by Disney, and DC, who is owned by Warner Brothers, being like, we're going to hold up our entire business for this when we could be making money and people would be buying our product. It's sad, but I think it's true. It's going to affect the comic book industry in major ways, but every industry is going to be different by the end of this. So we'll see what happens. There you go. There's our professional opinion as scientists. This is from Jay Citizen. Are there any stories that were contained to a few comics that might have been better as a company crossover? That's interesting. What would you want to see go bigger?
Oh, it's funny. I feel like that's such a trend now, is to have smaller, like, pocket crossover events. Especially Marvel does a ton of this with, like, you get your, like, Deadpool, Gwenpool, and I don't know, another book in that world to have, like, a sort of mini event, like the Iron Man event that's going on now, or was going on.
But DC does like Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so like they do different kind of mini.
Well, I mean, it's something like that, Pete. That's a mini series. I think what Justin is talking about is you have the alpha issue, and then you have a limited crossover, and then you have an omega issue as this format that Marvel has hit for these mini events. But getting back to the question, is there something like in a title that you thought, oh man, this is a good story, I'd love to see this just blown out exponentially and envelop as many other titles as possible?
Yeah. One what was the event, the Cataclysm that happened in Gotham City, where the whole city got shut down, and then it led to what was it, No Man's Land? Was that it? Like, that was great. I love that. It felt like it was one of those events that was big enough for the Batman family that everyone got to do some interesting stuff. If that got a little bit bigger and we saw that sort of hit other cities and saw those worlds be affected by that, I would have liked that.
Yeah, it's tough because it's a tough question, because sometimes when you things are blown out, it's like, why do we need this? So I could kind of see myself reading something and be like, there's no need for all this extra bullshit. But I think if it was done well, it could be interesting. I don't know. This kind of question is blowing my mind a little bit. I'm not sure how to answer.
It's blowing your mind.
Oh man. Wow. It's probably all the White Claw you've been drinking, Pete.
Are you just, I feel like your mind is like, how humans can only use a certain percentage of their brain.
Sure.
I feel like that whole 100% of whatever that percentage is of yours, Pete, is thinking about Ishkabibble's free.
You goddamn right.
Cheesesteak.
I'm like, man, maybe I can ditch this and get this cheesesteak before we close, because I got to strike while the iron's hot before they forget who,
What?
We're in the middle of a global pandemic. Why are you running out to cheesesteak places all the time?
Because it's a free cheesesteak.
Well, at least he died eating what he loved. A couple of answers here from the comments over on Crowdcast, which I thought are nice suggestions. Nat suggests Into the Spider-Verse should have been everyone verse. That definitely seems like that would have been a logical progression there. Also, when Ultra Humanite took over the world with Johnny Thunder's Magic Thunderbolt. Wow, that's a very specific one, but that's interesting. I love this next suggestion from Ben the Border Collie. Black Science is a comics-wide crossover. That would be awesome for Image Comics if they did something like that. Like, that seems like a perfect crossover, jumping through dimensions thing going on. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to YouTube for questions there. I just saw one. Oh, Bandito740 says, you guys watching the Harley Quinn cartoon? Just caught up today. Love it. Have you guys watched Harley Quinn yet, or am I still the only one?
Yeah,
still the only one, but I have DC Universe now, so I'm gonna get in and get loose.
Yeah, I'm excited. The clips that I've been seeing on YouTube have been really fantastic. Looks like they're having a lot of fun with that show. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's really great. As I've said before, first episode is like very in your face. It's funny, but it's very like violent and cursing and just, this is for adults. And then it settles down and hits a lot of really fun emotional rhythms. And the new episodes, it's been back. It's actually really just the second half of the season, even though they're calling it season 2. They produce them all at the same time. It picks right up. It doesn't lose a beat from the humor. Really, really funny show. So definitely highly.
At least it doesn't split into parts for some no fucking reason. So that's good to know that it's seasons.
No, that's what they literally did. They just split it in half.
Joe Crack says, Alex, no, don't give Pete that ammunition. Listen, Harley Quinn and Chilling Adventures of Sabrina are two different shows with different terminology. All right. Anyway, also Darko Skater on YouTube says, yay, Comic Book Club. Love you guys. Love you back.
Darko Skater, what's up?
From Mike Beneke, parent of Griffin Freshman, if they do a Marvel DC crossover when normalcy returns, what would be most satisfying one-sided battle? Wouldn't Hoppy the Shazam Bunny versus Punisher be a better one?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So just to give a little bit of setup here, there is part of this that I feel like is just people having fun, but there's been a lot of rumors flying because DC writers have been putting in teasing little Marvel stuff. Marvel writers have been putting in teasing little DC stuff. Scott Snyder did some stuff, as we talked about on the stack, I believe, over in Justice League, where they destroyed something where there was like, it was Jeff Johns did in Doomsday Clock. He had some teasing Marvel references. Donny Cates over in Thor had some references to the DC universe. So first of all, do you think there actually is some sort of DC Marvel crossover potentially in the offing? And if so, what are the offbeat matchups you'd want to see?
I mean, I think that would be great. How long ago was the amalgam universe?
I don't know, man. Probably 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I feel like that was late 90s. I was going to a mall in my hometown at that time.
Going to malls.
Twilight in the Carousel Mall in Syracuse, New York.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Definitely a fun time. So I would love to see it again. It's about time. Let's get it back there. Let's expose the DC and Marvel readers to each other's stuff and see what people like.
Pete, what about you? What do you think about this Punisher versus the Shazam Buddy matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see Punisher shoot a bunny, but if people are into it, that's fine with me. I just think that like this, I like the idea of this. Like, we need something to bring people together. We need a big event after we're all released into the wild. And it would be awesome to kind of get a big Marvel DC crossover. That would feel great.
Sorry, by release into the wild, you mean sent to a cheesesteak shop, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I'll fucking leave right now. Stop bringing it up.
Pete, hungry.
Did you have dinner, Pete?
Yeah, I was a while ago, and it was just a couple of sliders from White Castle.
Just a couple of sliders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you must be hungry.
Definitely got to top that meat cheese stack in your stomach with a cheesesteak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great question over there. This is again from Nat. What are some ways you see the Morrison run paying off on the Hickman run? Nat, we are done talking about this. We moved on to the show.
A couple seconds, yeah.
No, we could talk about this since our tech cut him off. So what are some ways that you see the Morrison run paying off in the Hickman run?
Well, I do think maybe Hickman is modeling his Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey relationship and whatever that's going to happen with on that the Jean Grey White Queen Scott relationship that happened in the Morrison run.
Yeah, Pete, you have any thoughts there?
I mean, it's tough because it definitely has a little bit of a feel to it. But I don't know, like it's also they're doing different stuff, so it's kind of hard for me. I wasn't like, holy shit, this is like directly related, or I was like, oh, this wasn't. I didn't feel like Hickman was completely inspired by this, but yeah, I mean, I can definitely see what someone would say that. I just wouldn't know really what to kind of specifically be like, oh yeah, for reals.
I feel like the two ways that I would connect them, and these are more thematically, or I guess, I don't know, environmentally, I guess is probably a better word, is that one, the willingness to actually change things, like particularly for a franchise like X-Men that sort of hits the same notes over and over, that both Morrison and Hickman came in and they're like, we're going to follow this through to its conclusion. What does evolution mean? What does it mean to be a mutant? Let's really push it forward. And whether it's things like the secondary mutation, or it's things in Hickman's run, like deciding that mutants are their own species living on Krakoa, I think there's a lot of connection there. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I think it's also like, hitting those notes that we know so well, but reverberating in different ways, where you still have Morrison is still doing the enormous Magneto story and Magneto versus Xavier story, but it is with these new elements and these new ways of doing it. And I think Hickman does the same thing, like very specifically in Powers of 10 and House of X. We talked about that a lot, where almost every issue felt like, oh, this is kind of the Age of Apocalypse issue. Oh, this is kind of the Phalanx Covenant issue, et cetera, et cetera.
I also think Morrison's run ended with, I think Here Comes Tomorrow was the 4-issue series that moved the X-Men into the future and sort of paid off a lot of the things that he had set up, the Phoenix Egg and all that. And I can definitely see Hickman doing something like that. I mean, he plays with time so much as it is, but doing something where we really get to see the payoff of all of the diverse elements before we go back and then relaunch the X-Men again. Feels.
I mean, they have the King Egg in it, so
yeah, there you
Eggs?
go. Yeah,
it's a different
egg. A Phoenix egg. Lots of eggs. Everybody loves eggs. Over on YouTube, Bert Ramdam says, would you trust Punisher with the cure if he had a gun that shot vaccine bullets? Great question. Yeah. Pete, I'll turn to you. Oh, hell yeah. That's the answer there?
Yeah. I'd
but Pete, wouldn't he shoot villains?
Ooh, later. I think he would prioritize people, you know?
So the Punisher, you'd say, would be a great person as like sort of a Surgeon General who would be able to prioritize who gets the vaccine.
Exactly.
Good, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I'm going to make the states fight for it. Oh boy! To answer Pablo's question over here, Alex, is that Cypher in the background? Yes, it is. That is Cypher. If you're watching on video right over there, that was drawn by Kenny Cords, right? Is that
Kenny Cords? Yeah.
There we go.
Shout out to Kenny Cords,
fan and friend of the show. All right, let's move on to another question here. This is from Joe Crack. What comic character do you want to see get a new costume design? And do you have any looks you would want for them? Who has a busted old look that needs updating?
Yeah, we got to fix these looks.
Yeah, fix these looks. Who is better than us, the three most fashionable men alive, to determine who should get a better costume? Jay Citizen says Gambit. God, I hate that costume.
Agree. The trench coat is could go.
What about the head sock? You like the head sock?
Also, Gambit should just dress in clothes. He doesn't need to.
I like how it's like the finger gloves, like the two middle ones are black, you know?
I do like the gloves. I think the gloves are cool, but he's a guy that would wear clothes, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of characters can just go back to wearing clothes.
Yeah. Pete, you got an answer? Any comic book character you'd like to see updated?
I mean, they keep making Cyclops try to be better, with his different outfits, it's still the same shitty person. So I appreciate them trying to update him, but it's not, you can't change the outside. You got to change the inside. You know what I mean?
No, I'm pretty sure that well-dressed people are nicer than people who dress like poorly.
I'm not sure that's how it works.
It's pretty like clothes make the person, Pete. That's what everybody thinks.
That's why I was telling you about my morning meeting. I used to dress up and I was very nice, and now I'm mean because
I believe it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Alex, if you were wearing a tie, we wouldn't have had all those technical issues.
All right, fair enough. This is another question from Joe Crack here. We got a couple more. Y'all been rewatching any old classics during quarantine? I've been watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. Turns out it's pretty good, y'all.
Star Trek TNG, the best. Love. I would watch any of those. I mean, there's some bad ones. I would watch any of those episodes over and over again.
I'll tell you what. First episode of TNG, not that great. Maybe
the first season is a little rough and tumble at certain points. But man, there are just some bangers as that show went on.
Yes.
I've been rewatching. I think I said this before. I've been rewatching Gargoyles on Disney Plus and have been loving it. What a crazy. Also, the way that show went, it was the first season was I think like 12 episodes. The second season was 52 episodes.
Yeah.
It's insane how they made TV back then. And then there's a weird third season that was a totally different show on a different network called the Goliath Chronicles. But it's wild. It's just they just go to random places, encounter super weird, trippy things. There's a nanite man in a computer thing in Australia that they fight. It's just great.
Yeah.
Pete, I've been watching
old.
I've been watching Cowboy Bebop. Went back and started season 1, Ep 1. It's been really enjoyable. I forgot how fun the music is.
This is probably a very bad answer because I've honestly barely had any time to watch TV for the first time ever. But with the kids, we watched Baby's Day Out on HBO. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Baby's Day Out. It was John Hughes' follow-up to Home Alone, and it's Home Alone except it's with a baby. And the criminals are Joe Montana, Joey Pantaleone, and some third guy. And it's the first half of the movie. My son, my 5-year-old, was dying laughing. It was this is the funniest movie. Literally said, this is the funniest movie I've ever seen. And then halfway through, there's a scene where Joe Montana is hiding the baby on his lap under a coat while a police officer is interrogating him. He's the kidnapper who stole the baby. And the baby gets a lighter and starts setting his crotch on fire. And it lasts for 5 minutes, 5 solid minutes of Joe Montana's crotch being set on fire. And it's too much.
Did your son then change his opinion, or is he stand
Yes, they were this movie is terrible, is what they said. Anyway, Baby's Day Out now on HBO Go. Binge that for an hour and a half.
Wow, what a great rewatch. Way to dive back in.
We got one last question here on Crowdcast. Does Nat know the only way to be a comic book club member is to kill a cart member and take their place like a Klingon warship? Oh, Jesus. I really should have read that out loud. I should vet these questions.
And it's actually a Highlander rules apply. You do get all of their powers if you once you kill them.
Yes.
I would just like to say, bring that shit to me if anybody's thinking about it.
Yeah. One last question we got here from over on YouTube. I don't know. What
are you challenging people to try to murder you?
Yeah, come on.
Okay. You're really into this whole apocalypse fighting in the streets thing is what's going on.
And I'll tell you what, Pete, that's a risky thing to say when you literally read aloud the address you're going to at some point, probably tonight. You may be being baited into a trap.
Last question here from Darko Skater on YouTube. I'm watching the 90s series of Spider-Man. What is your favorite animated comic book cartoon? I initially skipped over comic book and I was like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, obviously, but that doesn't count for comic book cartoon. So, favorite one?
Animated series.
Yeah.
I mean, that's but let's get into a weirder answer because my first Avatar, Adventure Time, my favorite cartoons. But that both not comic books. Batman animated series, obviously.
Captain Bucky O'Hare.
Was that a comic first or comic second?
No, comic second.
What are some of the weirder ones?
Weirder ones?
Like the
Stripperella. Oh, go ahead. What?
What just happened? Salvin.
Like some of the stuff
the Max, maybe?
Yeah, the Max.
The Max is
great.
Yeah. And that is talk about a faithful interpretation of the comic. That is accurate.
Yeah.
That's some weird late 90s MTV stuff. I had a VHS tape.
Television.
I had a VHS tape with episodes of the Max and episodes of the State taped back to back. Great stuff. HBO. Kevin says HBO had a Spawn cartoon. That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that Spawn cartoon was fantastic.
Oh, sorry, Pete.
Keith David. Oh, unbelievable.
All right, and that is it for your audience question.
Yeah.
And now it is time for trivia. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right. So it looks like Jay Sinison, hand up. First hand up guy.
Wow, you're not going to give it to first hand up guy, huh?
No, fuck first hand up guy.
Wow. Music epically.
Yeah, I'm working on it. It's a whole thing.
I mean, you're doing too much.
Yes,
I love the
ambition. But Jay, we've invited you into the show. You're welcome to jump in to do some trivia here. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for jumping in the show.
Welcome.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to turn it over to Pete for some trivia. Here we go.
All right.
And, Pete's the star of this section, so none of us talk during it because that's the way that it works with different people, different quizzes. who's in charge when the quiz is happening. So there's the barriers up. Might as well just mute my mic.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I would love that. There was nothing I would enjoy more than that. So today's trivia is on topical comic news, and we will send you a Midtown Comics gift card that you can use to buy comics online. So today is, just went black. All right.
Very curious how topical this is going to be.
Yep. All right, here we go. Question number 1.
My mic won't mute.
Also, listen to all 3 possible answers and then select your the one that you would like. Okay, here we go. Question number 1. What recent variant cover has Batman standing on a stage in front of a punk rock skeleton/zombie crowd shredding a flaming dragon guitar while the screens behind him have screaming fire skulls coming out of the screen? Is it A, Dark Knight's Death Metal #1, B, Melting Faces 101 from Boom Comics, or C, David Fine? So either pick you either pick A, which is the correct one, or you can pick B or C.
Let's go with A, man.
A is correct.
Great choice. An ironic turn. Pablo in the comments is saying to Pete, "What kind of question is this?" So you need to really think about that.
Yeah, step it up, Pete.
It's a question about variant covers.
Well, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose your position as the star of trivia, Pete, if you don't watch it. You're on thin ice right now.
Alex, I have a question for you. Are you playing the flute on this track?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Question number 2. What famous artist and so much more is donating sketches to help comic book stores and their employees during this crisis?
Ooh, this one I know.
Is it A, Turd Ferguson, B, Jim Lee, or is it C, Philip Seymour Hoffman? So it's either A or B, which is the only one that makes sense.
It's B.
That's right, Jim Lee.
One that's a person.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
That's a great point.
Here we go. Last question. Humberto Ramos is auctioning off art from Nova's #2 variant to benefit what Chicago comic book store? Is it A, Keith's Comics with a K, B, Professor Pip's Comics Emporium, or it's C, Monica Potter? So it's either A, which is the only one that is a comic book shop.
It's my comic book store. That's where I shop. It's Keith. Keith is awesome, man.
Yeah!
Look at that!
I've been going to Keith for like 15 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How about that?
I'm like a half a mile from him.
Hey,
awesome.
Wow.
There you go. So there you go. 3 questions. You have beaten Pete at trivia, and you have won a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. It was very hard to do, but you somehow did it. Shoot us an email with your name, your address, and your phone number, and we will get you a gift card that you can use online, so you don't have to worry about going to the store or anything like that. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for jumping in.
Thanks for jumping in. Good luck out there in Chicago.
Yeah.
I always forgot. Thanks for pointing out, Alex, that the person who wins trivia actually defeats Pete.
I'll tell you what, the gift cards, when you buy them at Midtown Comics, they ask for a message, and my messages have been congratulations on defeating Pete in trivia.
I love that.
For the past couple of weeks.
I just want to point out Kevin was correct. It is Patch Adams.
What is Patch Adams, Pete? Do you want to give any context for that? The third answers to your questions for a Robin Williams movie. They're all actors of the Robin Williams movie. You haven't done Patch Adams before?
That's correct. Saving it. I was saving it.
Are you running out?
I'm getting close.
Oh, man. Well, there you go.
Give us a nod. Can you give us a hint about what next actor or whatever you're going to do with your third answer?
No, I can't. No. It's coming, though.
Oh, boy.
Wow, what a threat.
Yes, we did. Ben the Border Collie does point out we forgot to announce what we were drinking. We usually do that at the beginning of audience questions. I'll start with my boring thing first. I'm just having a nice glass of seltzer with some lime.
Wow. Looks like a lot of lime juice in there, though, Alex. I applaud you.
Too much lime.
I'm also having a seltzer, but mine is a hard seltzer.
You've really shifted to White Claw, Pete. What's the deal?
There was a special at the store where I go, so we got a 12-pack.
Cool. Opulent. I'm drinking a super soft IPA from Sloop Brewing. I randomly just picked it up at the grocery store when I was panic shopping just the other day.
Congrats, man.
Now, before we wrap up here, I do want to mention something. This is over on the comments on YouTube. Aris910 says, I forgot my family knows me as Aris, not Jason. Social distancing might change the hours around. Also, they're completely out of cheesesteaks, is I think what he says over there. No, I added the last sentence. I had the last sentence. But as for Aris, not Jason, Pete, would you immediately run out after
Aris Williams? That's why I got put.
Look, he just woke up out of a stupor.
Yeah, Pete, not paying attention to this entire show.
Pete, why don't you just go to the store and rattle off as many names as you can remember and just see if anyone gives you something for free?
Just keep walking down the street. Get eating as many faces as possible. I think that's going to be the best thing to do right now.
Now, seriously, before you move on, Aris or Jason?
You can text me about this, Pete. You don't have to ask me about this in the middle of our live show.
This is all that matters right now.
Also, I'll Venmo you like $6 if we just never have to talk about this again.
Done.
All right, everybody. A couple of things before we wrap up here. As usual, we are doing the show to the internet. We're going to be every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on both Crowdcast and on YouTube. So definitely come hang out, check out the show there. We would love to have you. Also, we do a bunch of other podcasts you can check out as long as TV shows are going. Riverdale After Dark, our Riverdale podcast, Katie Keencast, our Katie Keen podcast. So we're going to be starting up a new one that we could probably tell you about soon. And if you're listening to our Stack podcast, which goes in its own feed and also in the Comic Book Club feed, we are going to be talking about, as mentioned, Squadron Supreme number 1 through 12 this week. So definitely read that and check in. I think that should be a fun time. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support the show. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. Then we'll see you next week, all. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Stay safe. Eat cheesesteaks.
All day and night.
Hey, we're going to play it out.
Yeah. Dance it out. Oh, nope.
Nope. Or he's just going to freeze with a crazy look on his face. All right.
That's amazing. I can't believe it lasted so long. Alex, you froze for so long.
Yeah, I know.